Welcome back to another UCL fantasy video. This will be the best wildcard team for Matchday 6. If you still have the wildcard in your back pocket, I think now or Matchday 9 is the best time to use it. Check out my best chip strategy guide, which I uploaded several months ago. It's still relevant today, and it also provides some alternative plans to the traditional using the wildcard and limitless chips all in the first few match days of the season. So I do provide some good times to use them in the knockout stages. In this video, it's the best 15-man squad for match day 6. There will be rotation, and I think this team is well equipped to deal with that. There could be the odd benching. Some of them will be surprising. I'll try to consider some alternatives as we go along, and I also encourage you to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Smash the like button if you enjoy this video, and also subscribe so you can see much more content for FPL and UCL fantasy. We're very close to 22,000 subscribers, so let's keep on pushing towards that milestone. But without further ado, let's jump straight into this video. Before match day 6, I didn't cover Lunin too much, but I discussed him in the best limitless team. Despite his low price, I think he's a great option with both chips this week. And you've got Kepa, who just came back from an injury, I believe, and you've also got Courtois, who is out for pretty much the entire season up until March or April with an ACL injury, and Lunin has done very well in their stead. Now on the 12th of December, which is when Lunin plays, on the Tuesday, you do have some alternatives like Summer at home to Real Sociedad if you want a goalkeeper with a home fixture, or you don't back Lunin to start and you think Kepa comes in straight away. But I would go for Lunin. I think he's been pretty good recently. And the second goalkeeper I'm going to go for is yet another one with an away fixture, and that's Iñaki Peña. I think out of the two, I would prefer Peña, and I do back Barcelona's chances of a clean sheet. And with Peña, he is going to start for sure. There is no doubt at all. And with Lunin, you might have some concerns about him in match day 6. But I think both of them are absolutely fine. And on the Wednesday, you can also go for Blažević from RB Leipzig against Young Boys at home, because both of these goalkeepers have away fixtures. And I do think having one or two options here and there with home games is always going to be very, very desirable, and also just more convenient. It raises the ceiling and boosts the chances of getting points, and it's not always going to be the case, but I think generally speaking that is the situation. So I would go for Lunin and Iñaki Peña, and the alternatives to consider on the wild card would be Sommer and Blažević. In this edition of the best wildcard team, I'm investing more money in the defensive line compared to usual. I think there could be a lot of value to be found in this position compared to the midfield or forward line. Typically, it will be the other way around, and defenders, you can go for the cheaper options and do very well. But I think this week it could be worth going for some premiums or mid-priced options, and Molina is certainly worth it. He's got a lot of assist potential, and I would back a clean sheet for Atletico Madrid against Lazio. And you might be thinking, well, Atletico Madrid have already secured qualification. Why go for Molina? Because they haven't secured top spot. They face Lazio next, and if Lazio beat them, they will pit them to number 1 in the group. So I think Molina will start, and he's got a good chance of a clean sheet and potentially an assist on top of it. And if he can do that, you're looking at a massive return, to say the least. He is averaging 4 to 6 points every single match day because of his consistency in both boxes, but particularly his attacking capabilities. The second defender I'm going to go for is a bit riskier, and that's David Raum, because Leipzig have qualified, but they can't finish top now after Manchester City made that comeback. So I think with David Raum, it's a bit of a shame, but unfortunately, he is going to be in this team, and it's going to be a risk. If you want to go elsewhere, I completely understand it. But Young Boys at home is a very appealing fixture, and he's got the ball recoveries, the assist threat, and he's even capable of Man of the Match awards. It's not going to be very often, but it is certainly a possibility. Now, if we look at the other defenders, it's going to be similar to the best limitless team video as well. So the third one is going to be Joao Cancelo. I had him before too, and I think he's a sensational option. You saw what he did in match day 5, and that's Cancelo at his absolute brilliant best. Even though Barcelona didn't keep a clean sheet, Cancelo was one of the highest scoring defenders in UCL fantasy in match day 5, and over the course of the season, he's going to get a lot of points through so many different avenues, and that's a reoccurring theme with a lot of these defenders. Now, the fourth option we're going to go for is going to be Kieran Trippier. I think he's a great choice. I think Newcastle will keep a clean sheet against Milan and get the victory, which could see them through to the knockout stages of the Champions League. AC Milan haven't been impressive this season. They did get a good win against PSG a few weeks ago, but I'm still not convinced by them. They've got Rafael Leao, who's been having some injury problems, and I think Trippier is a bonus points machine in FPL, and you see that sometimes translate into UCL fantasy with the ball recoveries and the set-piece delivery, the threat he constantly poses, and that's why he creates so many chances and gets assists consistently for a defender. And speaking of which, this next defender to complete the backline also has similar qualities, and that's Di Lorenzo. So it's going to be a very identical backline. It's pretty much the exact same as the Limitless, and it's going to be more difficult to attain this squad with free transfers or even on the wildcard because of budget. You won't have the same issue on the Limitless, but I think it's well worth it to go for 2 cheap goalkeepers and then go for this expensive defensive 5 who've all got assists in them. They can get the odd goal, ball recoveries galore for all of them except Molina, and you've also got clean sheet chances in Matchday 6. There is a chance of Bellingham being benched in Matchday 6, but Ancelotti typically plays his strongest team, and Bellingham is starting every single Champions League game when available. He only missed out recently in Matchday 4 because of the injury he had, but I think he's essential. I'm very happy to have brought him back in for a -4 hit in Matchday 5, and I'm just a bit gutted I didn't go through with the captaincy on the Wednesday. But Bellingham is a terrific option. Away to Union Berlin, I just don't really care what the fixture is. Bellingham is capable of getting massive returns in any game, and he's been man of the match for Real Madrid in most of his appearances, which is absolutely insane. He's got a better record than Cristiano Ronaldo when he started off at Real Madrid, and he's a midfielder. I know he's technically an attacking midfielder. There's a lot of priority in terms of the final third and what he does in the box, but his overall game is to a very high level. He showed it at Borussia Dortmund, and I still think he's got even more levels to reach in the future. Now, the second midfielder is another one with a lot of potential, and I previously had him in my UCL fantasy team, and that is Xavi Simons. He did get a little injury problem against Manchester City, but he was already fine a couple of days later, and he had a good performance in the Bundesliga, and I think he's a great option against young boys at home if he starts. But I think with these Leipzig players, you've got to be a bit careful. Even Blaswich, David Raum, Xavi Simons, Openda up front, I think they're all great in Matchday 6, but there could be some rotation, so be careful with clubs like Leipzig who can't finish top and have already qualified for the next round. And you could also say the same for teams that have secured first place and are at no risk of being pipped to that top spot. So the third midfielder I'm going to go for here, once again, very similar to the Best Limitless team. Be sure to check that out and see the differences. But Galeno is next up. He's a budget midfielder. He got a massive return against Shakhtar Donetsk in Matchday 1, and I'm backing him to do the same thing in Matchday 6. He just came back from an injury, got a UCL fantasy assist against Barcelona, and he's in better form compared to earlier in the season where he was very inconsistent, according to the Porto fans that told me about him in the live chats and also in the comment section. Now, the fourth midfielder is yet another rotation risk, I will be honest with you, and that is Phil Foden. But if he gets this start, you could see another massive return. Maybe not 17 points, but it could be a really good one nonetheless, and Phil Foden has transformed my last 2 match days since I wildcarded in Matchday 4, and I've got a great history of Foden in UCL fantasy. In FPL, it's the complete opposite. I don't even touch him on that fantasy format, but in this game, he is absolutely terrific, and he's got a great record. He's more consistent, gets a run of starts, and he shows what he's all about in the Champions League. The final midfielder is going to be Joshua Kimmich. Not ideal. You could also go for Kalinoglu, who is expected to start against Real Sociedad in that crunch game to secure the #1 position. But Joshua Kimmich has been very consistent, getting 5 points or more in pretty much most game weeks. He's getting assists, he's getting ball recoveries, and he is generally a very good option in UCL fantasy. And Bayern Munich are expected to go strong against Manchester United. Let's see if that changes over the weekend, and if that's the case and we get maybe some feelings or, some leaks that say, you know what, the likes of Kimmich and key players for Bayern Munich will be rested, then we would readdress this in the deadline stream, of course. But I think this midfield 5 is very solid. None of them are particularly expensive. Foden is the closest really to a somewhat premium option in the midfield. And this season, we don't have that many options in the midfield in terms of premium options like Kevin De Bruyne, who's still out injured at the moment. Mohamed Salah's not here. Vinicius Jr. has been reclassified to a forward. But I'm very happy with this midfield 5. It should do a good job. They've got some great fixtures. Obviously, Man United away would be the toughest of the lot you see here. But even then, Bayern Munich would be favourites, and Kimmich can give you 4 to 5 points quite easily. If you want a differential forward, then Openda could be your best bet. He is very risky though. He might not even start, and that is the big question. And if you want to avoid these sorts of problems, then you could still go to a team and player that still has something to play for. But I just think, generally speaking, the ceiling will be lower for these players. They're going to be tighter matches. The players and also the clubs involved are of lower quality, but Openda is a massive differential and he could really come through. Now, the second forward is going to be Erling Haaland. Very typical stuff. No surprises there whatsoever. And you get the early lineups for the Wednesday, so you can see if Haaland and Foden start or not. If they don't, then you can make a decision accordingly in terms of your Wednesday captain and also whether you start them or not. But even off the bench, Erling Haaland can do really well. And I think he'll start against Van Zvezda as he's looking to get to the Golden Boot, win it yet again in the Champions League. And he's just a goal-scoring machine. He's so young. He's playing every single game for Manchester City. And that's very rare for a Pep Guardiola side. Now, the final forward is going to be Alvaro Morata, and we do have 2.1 million left to spare. And this is where we can start tinkering with the rest of the squad. But Morata has a great home record. He's been scoring a lot of goals for Atletico Madrid this season, and he was very frustrating in Matchday 5. He missed 2 big chances, back to the default settings of Alvaro Morata. But overall, he's had a good season. He's been very solid and dependable for Atletico Madrid, and I would recommend one Atletico Madrid player at the very least in this wildcard team. We are going for 2 with Molina as well. But if you want to go for Harry Kane instead of Openda and change things up a little bit, then we can do it, but it will be difficult. So once we get Kane in for Openda, you'll have 0.4 million over budget in my case, and I've got over 102 million in the bank. So as a result, you could downgrade one of the defenders that we discussed earlier, because we do have 3 premium options in Trippier, Di Lorenzo, well, Cancelo and Molina. That's 4 premium options. So you could downgrade one of them, or Joshua Kimmich and just go to a cheaper option instead. And unfortunately, Stengs is just above the threshold. He is 6.2 million, so it would be difficult to go to him. Even Rodri, I wouldn't be completely against, but maybe Kimmich you could see as the weak link in this team, and you could go for someone else entirely. It might be perceived as scraping down the bottom of the barrel, but there are 2 midfielders at 6.1 million or below that you could go to who are massive differentials in Matchday 6 with good fixtures, and that's Schlager from RB Leipzig, or you could go for a Copenhagen midfielder in Laraga. Let me know who you prefer down in the comment section below, but that is another massive differential. His ownership is 0%. It'll be 0 point something, but I don't know exactly which. UCL Fantasy don't show you that. But this would be a very interesting team. Plenty of players who still have something to play for, whether individual glory, goal scoring records, or their team still needs to secure qualification or top spot. And I firmly believe you can deal with rotation very effectively with this 50-man squad. So the only thing left to discuss is the captaincy. And on the 12th, I would probably go for Jude Bellingham. And on the Wednesday, I would go for Haaland if he starts. If he doesn't, I would go for Morata instead. And maybe if Foden starts instead and Haaland doesn't, you could also consider another Manchester City player. That is certainly a possibility. And in terms of other backup options, Harry Kane on the Tuesday is still a good choice, but I would rather go for Jude Bellingham on the Tuesday and Haaland on the Wednesday. That is my personal preference. And overall, let me know what you think of this 50-man squad. Do you think there's anyone else that needs to be considered? Any teams that have been going under the radar or specific player picks? I'm all ears, and I'll be checking all the comments as always. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Our aim is to get this video to over 200 likes and to keep on pushing towards 22,000 subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, and the UCL Fantasy League. I wish you all the best of luck for Matchday 6 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.